Hello, my name is Michael Aloia, and I'm a martial arts instructor, and I've been training for over 25 years. My background is in the Japanese martial arts, including Judo, Jiu-Jitsu, Kempo, and Aikido. From this background, I've designed several basic concepts and approaches for dealing with an aggressive advance. In this program, I will be guiding you through a series of steps which will allow you to handle an aggressor confidently. Okay, so working with the idea that they're lunging in on the punch, they're stepping through with it. What we're going to do is we need to move. We need to move our entire body, not our head. So as they come in, we move. We're moving forward and offline. We don't want to just move our heads here. This actually keeps us off balance. And we don't want to move backwards because as if he follows up, pulls us into a position again where we're off balance and we can't counter. We want to take ourselves out of his view attack. So the fastest and easiest way to do that is to move in. This puts me on the side, and if I'm a taller person, maybe further behind him, which then takes me out of his view of attack. So I want to come in, move. I don't need to make a big movement. Only the width of his fist. I don't need to make a big movement because he may counter with something. Here. So when we enter forward and offline, we want to make sure that we're stable. So where our knees are bent, feet are flat, our center's below his. Here. This will ensure that our environment is stable. So we can go in to do whatever we have to do. And I want to keep it in sight. I'm not walking in this way because again, he may come in, elbow me, put me in a headlock of some sort. So I want to be able to turn and I want to see it. I want to kind of almost perpendicular to him. I want to be able to turn and see where he's at and what he's going to do. So if his arm does move back, I can put up a block, strike, change. Same thing as if he comes in here. So similar movement, but to the inside. And again, I'm getting into his center line and deeper in. But I need to be careful on this side because he has a weapon ready to strike. Again, there's a timing issue here. So I want to kind of focus not on his eyes, but on the center line of his body. And as his upper torso moves, you can see that he's going to fire off with his right hand. So, gauging on the center line, and I move. Now, there will be times that when we do make mistakes, and I'm thinking that he's going to throw his left, and he actually throws his right, and I move that way. Here, I still cleared it. I just have to retaliate and counter a lot quicker. So now that we have the advance coming in and we've worked on the movement, we need to put a buffer between the two of us. And so what we want to do is we want to put up some type of block. And again, if you're more advanced, you may want to do like a double outward type of block, where I keep him in check the whole time. If you're still new at this, you may come in with a triangle block where it's much stronger and it's giving you a base to kind of protect yourself. So if he does move down in his arm to try to hit me, I can move in my elbows and still keep him in close to me. So we're going to work right now with a triangle here as I move in. So now this is the buffer that's between the two of us. This helps diffuse his attack, his initial attack, because that's where all the strength is, right there. So I want to get out of that way and stop it cold. And again, I want to be balanced. I want to move in and I want to be balanced. And I want to be lowering my center bending the knees. So keep myself balanced by, again, bending the knees, lowering myself. Keeping my energy not so much back in towards me, so he knocks me off balance, but I want to keep it extended, but not overextended. I don't want to reach for this here where it becomes a point where I'm opening myself up to a lot of dastardly deeds. So I want to kind of work it in here where I'm more controlled, where I can touch him a little easier and with a little bit more grace and power than he can touch me, because now I have him overextended and hopefully off balance. And by this, I'm lowering myself, dropping my center, kind of getting myself ready to defend. And again, staying where I can see him, not turning away, not keeping myself overly extended here, trying to cower away, because here I'm off balance. So I want to come in as if I'm attacking in a defensive type of way. And it's strong. I'm solid. Now, once I make this buffer between the two of us, I want to maintain control. And how I do that is I'm just going to grab him. Just that, from that point, and grab. I don't want to come in trying to grab from the because I may miss it. There's a possibility I may miss it and crowd myself. So I want to using the blades of my hands or my forearms, and then I slide down. Just slide down. Frictional pull down, maintaining control. This continues to keep his balance in check and under my control. And I also don't lose sight of where he's at. Because if I let go, he comes in and I just let go, I don't know where he's at, and then I'm kind of, again, throwing myself into the wind. So I want to know where he's at all times since I made this beginning movement and I was successful at it. I want to keep him under control. Again, I'm lowering his stature. When I control his height, I control his power. As I begin to counter his attack, I want to bring him in closer to me. So again, I'm not reaching for it. So everything's here. There's tons of things that I can strike, and it's all within my person. I don't want it back here, and I have to reach for it. Because now I don't have any control over him. He has control over me. Okay, so we have the movement, and we have the connection. The next thing we want to do is, once we maintain that connection, maintain his off balance, we need to strike. We need to get his mind off of the fact that he wanted to hit us. So once I'm off to the side or further behind him, a lot of these things are open. So from our triangle block here, maintaining a point of origin, right from wherever I'm at, I'm going to make a strike. Follow in again. Here, control, strike. And I want to use my whole body as a weapon. I don't have to rely just on my hands. I mean, I have my whole body. The elbow with the back fist. I can use my knee to check his here, which brings him down. I can fire my knee into his thigh. I can stomp on his toe if I need to. I can bring my knee up and then fire down again. Still maintaining control the whole time so he doesn't get away. I don't have to necessarily strike in terms of points, like with the fist or the elbow, in open, like his stomach, his ribs. I can also strike the joint as well. Here, strike the joint. Still, and then if I want to switch hands to strike, I need to maintain control with the other hand. So I'm doing a swap. Here, keeping this in check the whole time. Depending depending on the size of your opponent or your aggressor, you may need to decide relatively quickly where you're going to strike them at. If he's a tall man, striking to his head may be difficult. So he has all this open, so I need to go to where I can strike and get in, and then slowly move up if I need to. So you have a high, middle, and the low. So if he's real tall and I need to bring him down, I may want to strike low and then hit high. And again, this is all happening from point of origin. I don't want to pop back and rechamber back into something. It's just, it takes too long, too time consuming. I don't have that time. I need to right from where everything's happening. When I connect with him in terms of a strike, it's got to count. It's got to do something. It's got to change his body position, which opens up other things. So if I strike him here, it drops his head. Maybe I want to fire into his head. And I keep sinking him down, 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 so I lower him well beyond my height so I can maintain control for whatever reason. What we want to do now is work on the takedown, getting them onto the ground. So we're going to work the lower extremities because if he can't stand, then he's not going to be able to continue his aggressive advance to us. So using those points that we talked about earlier, the thigh, the knee, just stepping, continue to throw him off balance and down to the ground. Knee buckles, I can prop his foot as I step in and step through again. I can sweep. One thing you want to keep in mind is we need to continue going at it until he is down. One strike isn't necessarily going to do it. Say he doesn't move, or he only moves a little bit. I need to keep going, going, going. Again, the further he is below our center, the stronger we're going to be, the more confined he is. Okay, so again, going from the top, he comes in with his advance, and we enter in, so that's part of our movement, and we're stable in that movement. Here, keeping him in our sights the whole time, not turning away. Again, we move our whole body, not just our heads. We want to move the whole body. Here. Okay. Now we put the buffer up, so it's our block of parrying. Here, keeping this extended, but not overextended. Here, frictional pull down, maintaining our contact, and from there, keeping his balance, which we then follow into our strikes. And then our takedown, which we want to work the lower part of the body here. And from here, we need to maintain control in terms of the hold down, keeping pressure on a joint, keeping his weight plastered to the ground. We need to move around, because if we try to stand still completely, his motion is going to pull us off. So we either want to go with it or counter it by moving here, keeping our weight on top of him. As they're going down, they're going to take us with them because we're maintaining that control. So we don't want this to happen when we lose our own balance and they're coming back up on top of us. All our efforts have gone to the wayside. So we need to be prepared for that and move with it, follow it. Because if the fighter has savvy, he's going to know to recoil himself as he's falling. So we follow this up. what probably should be in the foreground of our mind is to escape, just to get out of that situation altogether. So we make our contact, our movement in here, and then kind of get ourselves out. So you're going to find that if you're working multiple opponents, you can't take too much time in terms of your hold down or the locking procedure that you're going to use. So after you've taken them down, if it's one-on-one, that's one thing. We're moving through, trying to maintain a control here, and wait till the authorities come where the person kind of sobers his thinking up. If there's multiple attackers, what we want to do is we're going to skip that and kind of just move him out of the way as we move to the next person. Okay, so we've been discussing one-on-one confrontations, but in reality, it's probably going to be more than that. So you want to be able to handle that situation based on some of the steps that we've worked on so far. If you're confronted with two or more opponents, what you want to think about is moving to the outside, to the far end. Move to the outside, keeping everybody in front of us. So I don't want to fall into a situation where I get crowded in, because then this is very difficult. So I want to be able to keep them on one side, me on the other. So I'm constantly rotating to the outside, moving to the outside. What we want to keep in mind in our defense is the degrees of the defense, the degrees of control that we want to have over this opponent. We don't want to go in and just blast through all the joints firing, opening up, flash blood flowing all over the place. What we want to do is, if we know our surroundings, say it's a surrounding that we're familiar with, and this may be someone that's just getting a little unruly, and they come in, what we may want to do is, instead of breaking any joints, we control them more with a more delicate type of takedown. This may be a person that we know or familiar with, or someone that we know knows, and we need to keep the situation a little bit more under control because they're getting out of hand. So we want to maintain our balance and our position, protecting ourselves, but then with an open hand, maybe we just roll them down, backhand them, push them off balance, and then just kind of diffuse the situation until they regain their composure. What we want to touch upon now is some defenses geared towards women. Instead of getting in there and kind of duking it out, that they're going to use more of the overall motion and movement of the attacker with their body. We're going to start with just like a basic grab that if someone's going to like snatch and grab, they want to pull them in. They're going to immediately pull them in. What we're kind of in school to do is to pull away from it. So as she pulls away, he pulls back. And this is actually putting her into a bad position because she's off balance and she's turning her center, her power point, and her attention away from the attacker trying to get away. So now he could actually follow up with some type of strike, and you know, we know what happens after that point. So instead of kind of turning and cowering away, as he pulls in using that momentum, what she wants to do is take her natural weapons, brace them against her body, and catapult herself into him. If he really pulls on her and she moves in, it sends him off balance. And part of that is happening because he doesn't expect it to happen. He already has an aggressive sense and he figures that's his dominance, that's his controlling. And by her responding in an aggressive, defensive way, throws him off. So if she's caught off guard, he really pulls into her and she just pushes through, tries to strike with the elbow and the knee, again hitting his center lines and vital points. She'll be able to free herself. A lot of this is going to happen where the woman doesn't realize it's happening, so if she turns slightly to the side and kind of casual about it, and he comes up from the side and pulls, her immediate response should be to go with that energy, turn into the attacker again, facing him, and catapulting herself with his energy into him. Okay, the next most typical type of aggressive movement done on a woman would be a push. So like if they were going to push them down, so they want to push them down, so he's going to come in and push down. And again, part of our natural response is to push back. So, and it kind of does really nothing for us because now we're concentrating on pushing back and it opens all this area. And you really don't have that type of time to be fighting. And sometimes the push may be just an immediate choke if he goes in and tries to choke. So again, our time is cut down even more. So what she wants to do is not fight it, but go with it. So as she's being pushed, she's going to back up and lower herself, get connected to the ground because that's her safety net. So then this gives the woman enough time to make her escape. Next thing that we're going to touch upon is if the woman is grabbed from behind and the attacker wants to pull her back and down. Now what we're again taught to do is stand our ground. We hear that all the time. And what that does is if we plant our feet and our attacker pulls back on us, pull back, it separates us, causing our balance to be lost. So what we want to do is, again, just with the other movements, we want to go with it. And we want to lower our center below the center of our attacker. This also makes it more difficult for him to maintain his strong grab. So she's going to move in with him and bring herself down to the ground on one knee. And then immediately turn into him, hopefully hooking or propping a knee, falling into him, and using her hard weapons or elbow or fist into his vital area. After she makes her strike, she wants to get up and get out. So another common attack would be a push from the rear. So what she wants to do is, as she's being pushed, she wants to go with it. Go forward and go down, getting one knee on the ground, kind of to stabilize herself. And what she's going to do then is curl through her center, allowing her attacker's energy to carry him over her. He would go forward of her, and this would give her time to escape. So when you're confronted with an opponent coming in, attacking you with a punch, we are going to move in. So we want to advance in on this. We want to keep our movement going forward. So we come in, make a strike, move in again. One of the things we want to keep in mind is we want our hands to make contact first. So we want to have our hands moving through. As he comes in, my hands make contact first to the punch. Leaves me room to strike, taking him down. So as he comes in with his punch, and I get my hands going, I make the connection, and I strike, and then I keep advancing, keep wanting to move, either behind him, around him, to keep him off balance and under control. So I'm in, here, strike, step, down, finish, escape. Same thing holds true as if he comes in and I miscalculate and I come to the inside. I want to strike here, keep moving forward, drop myself off. So one of the important things is as I enter in, again, make connection, have my hands move. I come in, I make one step, strike from keep this point, and then take him down. Everything was done from one position. Thinking about this, as I continue to advance, I'm going to step forward, moving into it non-stop. And everything doesn't have to be done at 100 miles an hour. That's what practicing. Just come in, work through, here, step, block, take it to the body, strike. When he comes in, we may not be able to enter in. We may be caught off guard and not be able to do this. So if that happens, we have to kind of move out of the way, maybe retreat at some point. But as we talked about before, we don't want to retreat in a straight line because he sees this, and as he follows up, here, takes us further offline and kind of crowds us. So what we want to do is, if we are caught off guard, we want to immediately move offline, but to the rear. And as he follows up with another one here, follows up with one more, and I've come in and strike, drawing him in, but I'm coming off his line of attack. And again, I work in to the outside. So again, as he comes in with a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, bang, block him in, take him through, control the situation. Dynamically, we want to move forward if we can. Here. This opens up all these targets. But in reality, we're going to be caught off guard most of the time. So keeping our blocks, our parries, within our person, within our shoulders. Little cup movement with our fingers. Here, 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 and in. So as we're parrying and keeping within our person, we're also slightly pulling him in, keeping his balance, lead, making him feel as though he's getting the best of us. Because if I just do hard block, here, he stops and he fires in low. And it's still putting me at a disadvantage. Moving offline, drawing him in, drawing him in. There's that connection, maintaining control. With my free hand, I fire in. Strike, strike. So as we advance from the punch, our initial movement sets up the angle and the line of attack. It puts us into position to either escape or to follow up with strikes. So our initial movement here opens up all this. Getting to the outside or further behind him, hands are moving, we have that connection, strike. We work his rear center line, side center line. If we work from the inside, we have his frontal center line. So we come in, we diffuse the attack. That sets up our angle, where we're not going to punch to something that we can't get to. And if we continue our advance, we're going to keep moving into closer into targets. Still maintaining control here. Our first line of defense is to get out of the way, and that's the movement. And from here we can decide whether we're going to engage or escape. So if we choose to, or have no other choice but to engage, then we need to create the buffer and make a connection. Here. So now I'm maintaining some sort of control. So if he moves back, I'm still connected with him, and I can kind of follow up. There's the connection, there's the control. Then we move in. So as we move, we make our connection. That's part of our control. Here. So once we move in, we connect. We want to keep this connection, keep this contact. Whether it's in the form of a grab, we're keeping something in check here. It protects us, and it also creates a feeling of where our attacker is when they move. Again, if they move back, I can move with them here. And I'm always holding on to them. So again, whether it's just a grab, a light touch here, keeping something up so I always know where that attacking hand is. And by keeping that connection as I move around, I maintain control. It forced me to change my angle of attack if need be. From this position and we grab, we can strike because we're maintaining that contact control here. Opens up our lines to strike here. So I can do hand swapping. Here, here, here. So I'm always in control. Working that line of attack. So if I come into the inside, I can work his center line here, bottom vitals. If I come to the outside, I have side center line. If I took a deeper step, I have the rear center line. So I make contact by grabbing, using a check hand, which then I move into striking. Keeps this weapon away from me, because if I let this go, he comes back and he hits me. I want to feel where he's at all times, even if I can't see him and I'm in a dark alley. So I got something in my eye. Here, I can maintain control because I feel it, I see it. I see him through my touch. Which then I can move into trapping. Trapping the joint. So as I enter and I make this connection, I don't necessarily have to strike here with the fists. I mean, this is a good starting point. So I can utilize my legs here. Work him down to my height. So the connection allows us to maintain control, and our strikes don't have to be solely with our fists. We can make it with our legs. Maintaining that control, that connection, if he pulls away and steps, we can utilize that as a sweep. Controlling, and if he moves back, sweep, and I can continue to follow up, maintaining control. So as he advances, I advance in, and I make connection. I make connection either through a grab or some type of check hand, keeping a buffer between myself and my opponent's weapon. Without that, when I let this fly, he comes back and hits. And he follows up and gets the upper hand. I don't want to sacrifice my initial advanced movement with giving up then my connection. Maintain this connection, this control. Taking him off balance with that, which then sets me up for a striking pattern. So now that we've engaged, we've made this connection, we have to control this person. And controlling that person means that we have to subdue that movement, subdue that person. Take them down. And hold them down. So to work into, after our striking pattern here, whatever that may be, we may want to go into a joint lock, a controlling joint lock. We can transition into that simply by lowering them down. Working the small joints, the wrist, the elbow, the shoulder, fingers. Make the strike. Make the transition into the joint lock here. By bringing them down even further. So if this doesn't lower them, drop your weight onto a joint to lower them. Slide down to the wrist, thumb in the back, flipping the hand over. And I can maintain a joint lock through my hold down. Putting my weight on the opponent, keeping him down. If he loosens up his hand, we can immediately grab the fingers and maintain control here, keeping ourselves at a safe distance. So we're working against the joints, using our body, using our leg. I don't have to get my hand down there to do it. I can just kind of bring him right across my leg, hyperextending the elbow. I can lock the wrist in, bringing it in closer to his body, move into him, getting my weight onto his rib cage, cutting off some of his breathing, making him uncomfortable. Up my center line, locking something in. There's too much movement as you're doing a joint lock and his head keeps coming up. I want to, again, plaster my weight, my leg on top of it. Here, cut off his breathing, cut off his movement. What we may have to also consider is that I'm working on this end. He may come up with a follow-up attack. And as he does, I need to be prepared for that. One of the ways that I can be prepared for that is I maintain connection to keep a check hand up. I contain him through a grab, so I have something still in between that he has to work himself over to. As he comes in with a follow-up, I have a free hand here, move through, locking him down, control. So we've been working with single attacks, coming in and developing our connection our control, our takedowns, but we may have to contend with a follow-up attack. One of the ways that we can contain that is through that contact that we make, that grab. I'm keeping something between him and I, the next weapon. As he comes through, he has to come around it. And I can work just with that. I want to constantly move to the outside, cutting off his vision of me, not in the line of attack. By putting myself there, and if he follows up, he has to work to get it. Buys me more time to move around. Even from the inside, here, and he comes through with the other hand. I need to be aware of what my opponent's doing. My connection, my check hand is going to help that. This will allow me to transition into other things. So, staying aware of what his other hand. I want to make certain that I'm extending him enough, sending him off balance enough that his weight's on his lower extremity, so I don't have to worry too much about kicking. I can't rest just on that. I have to be prepared that if he does come up and kick, keeping his legs under control as well. And one of the things that was mentioned earlier, I want to keep your hands in motion. We want to keep our hands in motion as we enter in. Here. It affords me the opportunity to deflect anything else that may be coming my way. Here. Even if he puts things up involuntarily, my hands are still going to intercept it. Here. If he puts a check hand up, my hands are still going. Let's do it again. If he puts a check hand up, I can take that check hand. I just moved around him 180 degrees. So it's important that as I advance in and I make these connections and I make these striking patterns, I need to be aware of what he's doing and what his body's doing. And not until I feel that I maintain control of the overall situation do I let up on my contact with him. So even if it means that I have to move him through several series of locks and transitions to make sure that the situation is under control, that's when I'll stop. When we choose to advance into the attack, we want to maintain a constant movement forward, keep our movement going forward. That keeps our opponent off balance and unaware of our movements. They're originally expecting us to move back, to move away from their attack, kind of cowering away. This affords us a little bit more of an aggressive defensive measure. We're in there, we're right, all our targets are only a small movement away, and it keeps them on the defensive. We work from a defensive to an offensive motion. When we're caught off guard and we choose to absorb an attack, we have to keep in mind that we need to move off the angle. We can't move directly behind ourselves because that keeps us in our attacker's view. We want to take ourselves out of the view and put us at a more controlling angle, making it harder for him to reach us. And as we do, we absorb it by keeping his punches within our body, parrying them from the outside in, and then following up with a strike. And then we work from there, moving, advancing on the offensive. Setting up our angle of attack from our initial movement puts whatever target in front of us, whether it's his frontal center line, his side center line, or his rear center line, high, middle, and low, that puts it in quick striking range for the punches, for the elbows, for the kicks, moving into joint locks and takedowns. We don't want to be at a position where we have to reach too far for them. Making contact and keeping contact with our opponent keeps us aware of where our opponent is and what their body is doing. Whether it be through a grab or a checking hand, maintaining that connection the whole time keeps his balance in our control. Once we've maintained that contact, we can easily move into striking and trapping of a joint, trapping of an arm, just to take him down using our body leverage, our body weight. Again, once we make that connection, we want to move into controlling our opponent. One of the key points in transitioning is to keep your hands moving. And if your hands are moving, something will happen. You have something between you and your attacker. And utilizing a grab, a check hand, some type of buffer will allow this to happen. And you can transition into the joint locks and takedowns and hold downs. When you control your opponent's height, you control their balance, you control their position, you control their view. So you can utilize your transition to create this. When we speak of joint locks, we're actually putting pressure against the joint. And we want to make sure that we are applying the pressure because that's what's going to move the opponent. That's what's going to keep them under our control. Without that, there's that means of escape and them following back up with another attack. When you're working towards transitions or joint locks, you want to make sure that they're done in front of you, at your center line, so you have the utmost control of your opponent and of the situation and of your movements. We can actually use a joint lock to take our opponent down. But if the person is still overly aggressive or a possible threat to someone else, you need to apply a hold down, and a hold down has to keep that person under control until the situation calms down. When we go to hold down our opponent, we need to actually make sure that it's applied and that it holds the opponent in that position. So what constitutes a valid defense? Well, one, it has to work. It has to be quick, and it has to be natural. It can't be something that you spend a lifetime learning, and it can't be something that slows your thinking down. So if you break it down, as we talked about in this series, to movement, a buffer into a connection, striking pattern, to a takedown, to a controlling pattern, you'll find that things become more natural to you. It doesn't need to be done at race car speed because you're not learning anything. You need to slow it down to an individual pace. Through these series of movements, you can gain an understanding of what you can do and what your opponent can and can't do. Once you feel comfortable with these movements, you want to individualize the defense that you do. So in other words, you don't want to be a carbon copy of someone else. You have to go with what flows naturally for you. If you're a flexible person, maybe using a lot of knees, kicks, maybe something that works to your advantage. If you're faster with your hands, that may be the way you want to go. But you have to let it flow, and you want it to be natural. It can't be real hard. If you come in too hard and stiff, you're not going to be able to move. You're not going to be able to flow into something. And by the time you kind of loosen up, your opponent's going to come in with something else. So it has to be real relaxed and flowing. But you also want to make your strikes count. You'll find that when you strike from the chest down, it causes to lower your opponent. If you strike from the chest up, it actually raises him up, sending him to the back. Here, opening up this area. Strike lower, it opens up this area. And I can control my opponent by making those small movements. Here, it lowers it. Firing it up here. By opening from the inside, this sends him back. Opens up his center frontal line here. Boom. Also, keep in mind that everything that you possess is a weapon. Every single thing. Boom, boom, straight and down. Elbows, your rear end. I can create joint locks with other parts of my body. Harder parts of my body. And again, we need to take this at a step-by-step process until we feel comfortable. But in a short period of time, you'll feel comfortable. So drills should be taken at a speed where you're able to function and understand what you're doing, rather than just trying to come in and throw hands. Everything that I do has to have a purpose, has to create something else. Here, causes him to be off balance. Knocks his stability down. You want to maintain control, taking his balance, putting him in an awkward position. When you have your attacker in an awkward position, you gain the upper hand. You control his height, his depth, his width, his power, and his control of the initial situation just by making the forward advance. Inevitably, we're going to be caught off guard when someone attacks us. So we're not always going to be in the perfect position where we're ready and we're able to move and go into what we need to do. We may be caught off guard and not able to get into our proper angle of attack. He comes in here and he might push us the rest of the way here, causing us to take a fall, to hit the ground. That doesn't mean that we're at a disadvantage. We just need to know what to do. So if he comes in here and he pushes with not a lot, if he doesn't push with a lot of force, I may be able to recover just by catching up my steps. I don't want to pitter-patter step. That may cause me even more off balance. What I want to do is just open up here, creating distance. Take that energy and make more distance. Now he has to start all over again. Now I'm prepared. So if they come in with a lot of energy, a real aggressive type of attack, we may be taking a fall. So again, it's not a disadvantage, but we want to be able to do it properly. So as he would come in here, I want to, again, blend with this. I don't want to fight back. I want to blend with it and actually kind of sit down, take that energy and just sit. If I can, I want to slap from the elbow to the fingertips. This is kind of a shock absorber. Again, even though we may be doing this in a controlled setting as a school, there's a mat, it's a little softer, you get used to this. It becomes a kind of a reflex thing. And it's better to take it here than to take it on the side or in the back or your head. So again, it comes in here, and I'm going to connect with that motion. Get down low, I want to tuck my head. I don't want it to bounce back. Tuck my head, sit down, try to get my rear end to my heels. And I want to recoil my body once I hit the ground. I want to recoil. Here. This becomes a defensive posture for me. This is how I recover from the fall. Though it may be a hard fall, and I may be in pain, I can't doctor the pain at that point. If I start doctoring the pain, he's going to follow up, and he's got the higher ground, he's got the advantage. A couple shots, I may be knocked out. So we may find a situation arises where the falling may be our best means of escape. That I don't want to, if he catches me off balance here, and I'm trying to push back, and I lose my balance, and he still has connection with me, he's going to maybe come on top, he's going to drive in his knee, he's going to have to, and I'm in a bad position. Taking the fall might be my best bet to the defensive measure. Me in a position where I create space, create momentum to get me back up as he continues to advance, but it buys me time to get ready to maybe defend myself. So as I come in, here, down, recoil up, get my legs in, almost a fetal type position, so I'm ready to defend myself. Recoil, ready. This is my defensive readiness, because he's going to follow up. Because my legs have already recoiled, and I'm in that position, that defensive readiness, my legs have already made contact with it. I already have him here. Rather than having him here, he falls in, controls my legs. I'm here, come on in, here. I already have control. I can start my motion. Because he's coming in, I don't have a lot of time to do anything. I don't have time to stand up, may not have time to roll away. Even if I do roll away, turning my back to him, which is a bad position to be in. So the best thing to do is to kind of recoil my position, here, absorbing this, and back in, getting my foot in there to stop him. Now, using my legs as if they were my hands. That's my defensive tool. So once I take the fall, he's right up on top of me. I need to coil back and extend this. It may not be the side piercing that we see in school, but it's enough to stop him so I can kind of trap his leg at the ankle, maybe prop it Once I prop the angle and I have this extended, I can kind of push and pull, taking it back. I can either, at that point, escape or follow up with strike the back leg, hit, use my body on top of his, where there's a more effective control because he's belly down. I can lock into things here. Controlling measures, my body weight on top of his. And again, there's that position we talked about. Belly down, back up, opens up for a lot of bad control. We're not always going to be in a perfect environment where there's space and we can move around and we have this large area to move our opponent, to move ourselves. We may be in a confined space, confined areas, a restaurant, a bar, next to our car, in a crowd. Here we're going to be against the wall. So if I'm being pushed into a wall here where I can't escape, my only course of action is to go into my opponent. I need to use the weapons, utilize his energy here. He's already made contact with me, so I know where his weapons are. I mean, now he may come in and try to strike. Here, it's much quicker in my response because it's close, but I can't continue to do this too long without actually getting back in and firing on him. So when we are pushed, instead of just having our body kind of be slammed into the wall, I want to be prepared for this. Now, how much of a surprise can you be prepared for? But as soon as you feel this, I grab on. I want to grab something, and I'm going to grab my opponent. This connects me to him. Here. This actually slows him down, slows my push into the wall down. So once I make this, here, then I want to use my weapons. This is how I keep him under control. This is my connection. My movement was initiated by my attack with a push. So I start right from the connection. Here, here. Working my way out. Again, my course of movement has to be forward. The push may also be a type of push where he hits and then releases to create space, and then he follows up again, either with maybe an additional grab to the shoulder or something of that nature, punch. So again, if I come up and push, he just pushes space. I need to be prepared. Again, slapping that wall instead of just having my joints hit against it. As if I was being thrown to the floor, I slap. There's my movement. I need to connect with that movement. Then I need to connect with the attack that's coming. So I can't just take my focus off of what's happening. There's that control. I put that buffer up, brought him in close. Now I'm back to where I was in the first situation. I have him, strike. We may even want to be able to use the wall as part of our defense. Again, we can take our opponent, if we can kind of redirect them and plan our escape, we can use the wall, send them into the wall. So again, if he pushes me, here, this, okay? At that point, comes in here. Take his punch right into the wall. Boom, boom. Take his head into the wall, using weapons that are around me. Throwing him down. Again, it's not a matter of muscle. It's a matter of using my entire body. He starts the energy, here. Boom. The wall is much stronger than the both of us, so I want to utilize that. Boom, boom. It's not just my elbow, but it's my body dropping down. So we might run into a combination of what our opponent's going to do to us. They push us into the wall, they may hold on to us, and then kind of strike us at the same time. Here, boom, okay? Here. Immediately get something in to protect your head. I may even be lucky as I come in, here, that may cause an initial strike, which kind of diffuses his attack. Here, and then kind of in and out. But if I am late getting in there, here immediately, and he pushes through, and he's ready to punch, I gotta get this hand up here and redirect it. Tucking my head, lowering myself, getting below his center. I want him to work for me. I don't want to just give it away. I don't want to just give it away here. You know, because he's going to follow up with other things. And that's about it. He already gained the initial upper hand here. I don't want him to keep it up. Here. His body lays to my escape here. It comes in. Boom. Here. Because I'm in a tight situation, my means of escape is going to be a little harder. His body's going to lay in my route. So, come in. I may come right on top of it, driving my way in. Boom, boom. And walk across it to get away. Thus far, we've been discussing just empty-handed attacks where our opponent doesn't have a weapon. But in some cases, our opponent may have a weapon. We're going to touch upon some knife right now. So if he comes in and he thrusts, again, I got to move out of the way. I don't want to stand up to this and then just try to deflect it. I'm going to catch it in a bad spot. I need to move offline with this as fast as I can. Put some type of buffer up. I don't want to catch it in the midsection. So here, I immediately have to go to a contact, a grab, and maintain that grab with the weapon. I can't just let it pass, because if he's a skilled knife fighter, he's going to come back, slashing at me. Here. So if he does move back with it, I have it. Here. And then maybe here, into him. And a quick disarm. We can't get too intricate on these defenses with a weapon. We have to maybe cut to the chase. And as we talked about in the previous volume, that we broke it down into just the movement, the connection, and the control, and how everything kind of flows in within those three major points. I can't spend too much time doing transitions with someone that has a knife in their hand, a weapon, because he's going to pull through, because I lose that grasp that I have. Here, I want to maintain control of this. Here, lock this in. I want to lower stature, bring it down, control that area. Disarm if I have to. Sometimes it may be somebody that just has a weapon, doesn't know how to use it. The initial contact that they make may be enough to dislodge the weapon from it. And then I'm back into an empty hand situation where I can maintain control. So again, I want to be able to cut to the chase, hit the major points. I want to move, make contact, diffuse the situation if I can, disarm, maybe use the weapon against him. Hold him into position till the authorities come, or make my escape. We may be confronted with an opponent with a blunt weapon, a stick, a piece of 2x4, and it may not be a thrust. It may be a backswing or front swing. Backswing, front swing, type like it. And again, I don't want to try to move into that straight line as he comes in. Here, he's going to catch me on the second one because he can still see me. So either two things. I got to enter in as fast as I can as soon as I see him move here. Keeping my hands up in check, kind of jamming that weapon, work through it, boom, free it up, maybe use the stick here. So again, here we come in, boom, stopping this as fast as we can. Getting our hands up. I don't want to lead with my face, because that's not going to be my first line of defense. I'd rather catch it in the hands. Here, boom. Controlling that weapon hand. Jamming something in, taking it down, maybe disarming him. His initial movement may be a backswing. Here, and I'm just going to move right into it. Again, I put up a defense. Here, boom. Here, move in. Boom. 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 And here, we're on the outside of the attack. This one. So we either enter here, we can absorb it, back in here, extending him off his line. Boom, boom, down. Boom. So I may want to absorb this. Here. Move in, take it down, release the weapon. Use the weapon against the joint, here, because the weapon's much harder. Here, move in. Thrusts, do the same thing that we did with the knife. Here, open up, release the weapon. If he doesn't release the weapon, utilize it as part of the lock. Here, boom. Some key points to remember when you're being attacked with a weapon is I have to get out of the way. I have to create some kind of movement. I can't just stand still. So if he comes in, I want to clear it. I don't want to clear it so much that he can see it. In terms of jumping out of the way, he's going to follow me. So when we make our movement, we want to be able to put a buffer between us. This is our hands. Talked about keeping our hands moving. But we don't want to wildly put our hands out here, because then we're going to maybe run the risk of being cut. Keep them in close to the body, but protecting our midsection, our vitals. So he comes in here, and I move in. Drawing him in, maintaining control of that weapon. This may be enough for the disarm right here. Take him through. If I want to maintain more of a takedown type of control, again, here's the buffer. Lock this in, disarm him once he's on the ground, then lock him in. Again, I can use the weapon on him, or just use the weapon towards the joint, or my body as the joint lock. The weapon on him. It's also a good idea that once I gain this control, I want to make a quick escape. Because again, if someone has the capacity to attack you with a weapon, they just might not stop until they make a connection with you. So here, disarm when he's on the ground, here, break, and then run away. Throw the weapon, make your escape. When at all possible, I want to be able to disarm. So I want to make that connection, hold on tight to it. Get that knife away from my attacker. The concepts that we've been applying, the movement, the connection, the striking, the takedown, the control, they all apply to empty hand and weapons. It's just a matter of approach, a matter of focus, a matter of our mindset. Just with the weapon, we need to react a little sooner, a little quicker, to the point, cut to the chase, get right to the nitty-gritty of each of those particular concepts, adding a disarm, and get out of there. I may even want to use...
Wait. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Okay, and look at me and say, keeping him at a safe distance. Blah, 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 keeping him at a safe distance.
Blah, 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 keeping at it. Yeah, uh-huh. Hold on, do I have a sheen?
No.
My very, very belly legs? I have too much chest showing? All right, I don't look like a gaudy Guido. I want to clear it enough, keeping my buffer between the two of us. Do that again, Mike.
Yeah, do it again. Yes, you did.
Take that. Here, move it. Oh, hit myself in the head. I'd rather hit myself in the head. It's all right. I got the weapon. basically, this is a combination of my Kempo, Aikido, and Jiu-Jitsu. That's what this is. Okay.
You're gonna kill.